Okay, how we doing, folks? It is Monday, November 27th, 2017. Rich Van Tassel with you, giving you our weekly NBA report. We've essentially crossed the quarter point of the season. There are some teams who are not there. There are some teams who are a little over. 21 games is over. 20 is just under. A few teams have as little as 18 games played, but essentially we are at the quarter point of the season. Things are really starting to take shape. This week has really kind of differentiated everything. You're seeing the form take shape. Not necessarily maybe what we would have expected, but for the most part, there's a lot of things that we would have expected going on with the teams. But you're really starting to see things develop, and that's what you would expect at this point. In the Eastern Conference, the Celtics still lead the way at 18-3. They had their 16-game win streak snapped. They've bumped it up with a 2-game winning streak at this point, still 9-1 in their last 10, plus 7.8 in their differential. Their points against is crept up just a little bit. It's at 95.8 in this situation, so that's going up, but still very good. That's been very nice all season, seeing the way their defense is played. You have Kyrie Irving at 23 points. He had some big games. They've, fallen behind at times and had to come back. But, you have the assist numbers at just over 5. A little low, but Kyrie Irving is a score-first point guard, so you'll live with that. I really like what Jaylen Brown has done for this team. You can talk about how devastating it was, how it looked, I didn't think it was necessarily doom and gloom when Gordon Hayward got hurt, but certainly you had a lot of high expectations when he went down. You kind of had to worry about it, but Jaylen Brown has stepped it up very nicely. His rebounds are still pretty good, maybe a little lower than I would have liked, but for a second-year guy who's a 6'7" guy playing small forward, he's still giving you over 6 rebounds and just shy of 16 points. His shooting is above 46%, a little south of 47%, but what's most impressive is he's shooting 41% from 3. And that was kind of the concern with Jaylen Brown coming into this season. So he's doing the job there. And that's really keeping this team competitive in the absence of Gordon Hayward. The Detroit Pistons, 12-6. Look, you have to wonder how long Detroit is going to stay at the top there. Their leading scorer is averaging less than 20. It's Tobias Harris with 18.4 points per game. You have Reggie Jackson. You have a lot of, good players, nice players. They're not really the takeover players. They're guys who can do things. They could certainly, if Tobias Harris was on a bad team, he'd probably be averaging like 23. He's on a better team now. So we got to still keep an eye on them moving forward. How long are they going to keep up at the top of the conference? But 12-6 is not even necessarily that impressive. The Cavaliers are up to 12-7. They've won 7 straight. So let's see what they can develop with their winning streak. LeBron James quietly putting up over 28 points per game, over 8.5 assists. He's putting up almost 8 rebounds. It's, just your typical LeBron James. He'll turn 33 at the last day of the year, actually. And by year, I mean calendar year. So, you kind of worry about him not wearing down, but his numbers would slow down and decrease just a little bit. But he's putting up the points at this point. Toronto, 12-7, doing what they do, being quiet about it, winning their games. I'd like to see if they can. I would think this might be one of the last-ditch efforts. I know they re-signed Kyle Lowry. They have DeMar DeRozan under contract. DeRozan at 22.9 per game. Of course, he does not shoot a lot from 3. That's been one of the... It's not necessarily a knock, but, in today's NBA, with the analytics, he's not even shooting 30%, but over 47% from 2. He doesn't even take three attempts per game. Kyle Lowry, 7 assists. So you have them. Really, that's what it comes down to with Toronto Raptors. It's all about the playoffs. Nice to see Philadelphia living up to the expectations I had for them. They are up to 11-7. There's been, of course, the problem, some discontent with the Jahlil Okafor situation. Ben Simmons has been playing very well. You have Joel Embiid, 22.4, 11.2, 1.8 blocks. It's really a matter of him staying healthy. But you have a lot of players like the Embiids. You have Ben Simmons. Of course, he didn't play last year. He's leading the team in assists at 7 7.7, so almost 8. You know, a tall guy at 6'10 who can distribute the ball like that. 18.5 points, 9.1 rebounds. That's not quite a triple-double, but those are very good numbers. So you have the young guys playing very well. You don't want to really have that Okafor situation be a distraction. So with the 76ers, you have some, you have a lot of potential there, especially with the way that Joel Embiid's playing. Markelle Fultz not necessarily coming along. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Of course, it's making Danny Ainge look better and better each time because he traded out of that position, and of course, Jason Tatum's playing well. Indiana surprising 11-9. Washington 10-9. You'd like to see a little bit more from them. I think they'll eventually get it going. John Wall, 24, or Bradley Beal leading the way with 24.2 points. John Wall has 9.2 assists per game. He's averaging over 20. They just have not filled out the rest of that roster for these guys, and it's really been hurting them. So they're going to have to start to do something either at trade deadline or in the future if you want to keep these guys in Washington. You have the Knicks then 10-9, Milwaukee 9-9. Milwaukee I would expect to be higher. Charlotte continues to, hover a little beneath. Orlando crashing down to earth. They're 8-12. They've lost 8 straight. Brooklyn 7-12. You don't want to say an impressive 7-12, but this team is definitely taking the strides. And then of course you have the Atlanta Hawks and the Chicago Bulls down there at the bottom as we would have expected. The Houston Rockets continue to lead the way in the Western Conference. They're 15-4. You'd like to think that they can continue to keep this pace up. I would expect at some point Golden State is going to catch them at the top spot, but these teams are going to be right there at the end. James Harden, of course, still very good, over 30 points, just shy of 10 assists. He's really, really playing well. I've never not liked James Harden. You've always had to kind of wonder about his defense, but I've really had my love for James Harden, even though he's just not a defender, and he's really playing better and better. There's some talk about him being selfish, those sort of things. They're getting Chris Paul going now. He really has not played many games this year. He's been injured a lot, only played 5 games, but he's putting up over 12 points, 10 assists. He's shooting 42% from the floor, not good. 38.5 from 3, that's good enough, but you would expect he's going to get things going as he continues to move forward this year. He's just got to get his legs under them. San Antonio continues to do well. Give them credit. They are 12-7 this year. Maybe it's not happening as slowly as we would have thought. LaMarcus Aldridge over 21 points per game. They need him. They also need guys like Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker. He's getting up there. Manu Ginobili is up there, but they are well coached. Pau Gasol also up there in age, so you have those situations with these guys. Kawhi Leonard is putting up 25.5 points per game. I'm really not sure why they didn't have him listed as the leading scorer. That's because he hasn't played thus far this year. Those numbers from I knew something was up with that. He has not played, and you have Paul Gasol, who's at 37. So you have the old guys, LaMarcus Aldridge, doing what they do. Paul Gasol only over 11 points per game. So it's one of those things with the San Antonio Spurs where you got to just give Greg Popovich a lot of credit because he always has the guys ready to play, and they draft well. They draft deep. Minnesota 12-8, Portland 12-8. Portland really surprising me a bit. They have the talent with McCollum and Lillard, but for them to be up there because the rest of the roster has not really come along. Evan Turner has been injured since he's come over. Myers Leonard has not lived up to expectations. Denver, an impressive 11-8. I'm really surprised by that. They finished pretty well last year, don't get me wrong. The Nuggets did. But your leading scorer is Nikola Jokic, 16 points. That again, we're talking about like with the Pistons. You have guys on the team who would probably be putting up 20 points, 21 points on a bad team. But now that they're on a good team, you see they're leading the way at 16 points, but it just shows the reflection of the players they have. So how long are they going to stay up there? The Western Conference is tough. The Pelicans are 11-9. I think the Pelicans might make some noise this year. Judging off how they've gotten started, how things are starting to come together. I think Rondo has really helped. You have Anthony Davis, of course, putting up over 26 points. DeMarcus Cousins has been playing well. this season as well, as he always does. 25.5, 12.6, 1.6 blocks. So to me, the biggest thing has been the addition of Rajon Rondo, having a solid point guard there, getting guys where they need to be. His numbers are not impressive. Only 5 points, just shy of 6 assists. This is a guy who's put up close to 12 assists in a season. He has only played 7 games, so his shooting, of course, is terrible. Don't get me wrong, but I think that, as he's come along, that's really going to help this team move forward and be able to make some noise, get those guys in position where they need to be. It's just too tough when you have those guys not to be good. You worry about in today's NBA, but it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, even though I didn't pick them to do that well. Utah 9-11 in the 8th spot. Still a little early for that. Lakers disappointing 8-11. Oklahoma City Thunder 8-11. Might have to start to worry now that we're in the quarter point. We'll see what happens with the next quarter of the season. They've got to get going. They are plus 3.9 their differential, so I wouldn't worry too much. Clippers 7-11. Memphis Grizzlies, they are 7-12. They've lost 8 straight. Some dissension. Marc Gasol was benched. Phoenix 7-14, and Sacramento 5-14. Dallas 5-15. 2 bad teams. And the power rankings, of course, Boston still will be number 1 despite the loss at 18-3. We got to give Houston 2 and Golden State number 3, 4 Cleveland on the 7-game win streak, and number 5 the San Antonio Spurs, since they're up there and they're getting the job done. All right, we'll give you the Monday night preview of the game, or the Monday night recap of the game tonight, either tonight or tomorrow morning. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Remember, we appreciate all subscriptions as well, folks, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.